in order for you to win, you have to first believe that you are worthy. You know, I saw this thing that Mike Tyson said one time. You have to believe you're the champion before you become the champion. But when you break it down to in regular life, the only way that you can do better is unless you believe that better exists for you. The sad thing about most people is that most people hold themselves back. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you believe you're not. If you don't believe you're great enough, if you don't believe you're good enough, trust me, you'll never achieve it. And that's why when I talk to people about doing better, I dig down into the psyche of the person to find out who they believe they are. And what are the things that you believe that are holding you back? You know, I remember talking to a young lady one time who, you know, she was trying to lose weight, you know, and she was making all kinds of efforts to lose weight. And in our conversation, she was, you know, she was a bigger girl, you know, about mid 220s. And in talking to her, I asked her, well, you know, how much, you know, what is your target goal? And she said, well, you know, if I could get, you know, like at about 205. And I said, why'd you pick 205? Why not 195? And she says, well, no one in my family, you know, everybody's big. Nobody's under 200 pounds. So I don't think I can go below 200 pounds. Now that's a person that regardless of how much she tried, because of her belief in who she was not somebody who was going to be that, she would never have achieved it. So the first step in anyone's achievement is to first believe you can. Okay? A man who does not believe in himself cannot believe in anything. Someone who does not have value, does not see value in themselves, cannot value anything. Okay? And no, it's not about discipline. Discipline is different. Discipline is what comes after belief. You discipline yourself because you believe you can achieve it. If you don't believe you can achieve it, discipline is nothing. You're not going to discipline yourself. It's almost like disciplining yourself to learn how to fly like a bird. You're not going to waste your time with that because you don't believe you can do it. Who's going to sit there and actually practice how to fly like a bird if they really don't believe they can do it? You're not going to be able to discipline yourself. You will have a mental block in your mind that will prevent you from investing the time, going through the process. It starts with belief and belief in yourself. If you want better, you first have to believe that better is out there. But here's the trick about that. The trick about that is that we live in a society that everybody pretends to be, you know, confident. Everybody pretends to be, you know, confident in who they are. But there's a very thin line between confidence, you know, a certain amount of confidence just to go about your regular day, and that belief you need to achieve something that is great. And that's where the rub comes, because our society wants you to be confident, but doesn't want you to be great, if you will. Because the moment your confidence goes past a certain level, where it's past the normal level, right? The next question people start to ask is, who do you think you are? Especially the people who are friends of yours from where you came from. Because everybody loves to see you do great, just not better than them. Okay? And we grow up with that undercurrent in our lives where most people actually spend their entire lives trying to fit in, trying not to go too far ahead of the pack, because when you go too far ahead of the pack, you stick out. And when you stick out, you're now faced with ridicule. If you think of anyone who is great, right, if you look behind it, they were always teased. You know, they teased Shaq about being too big. You know, they tease kids about being too tall. They tease smart kids about being too smart. It's ingrained in our society. And only the truly strong and only the ones who have a certain level of belief in themselves can marshal through all that and actually become great, because they decide to ignore what people have to say. They decide to believe in themselves more, as opposed to people telling them, who do you think you are? But it all comes down to how you value yourself. All right? And that's why it's so important when you are a parent to make sure you never limit the beliefs and the imagination of your child. Like I said to you guys the other day, Albert Einstein said imagination is more important than skill and talent. Because first you have to believe, you have to think, you have to conceive something before you can actually go after it. So bringing it back to where we are, once again, if you don't believe that you deserve better, if you don't believe that you're capable of, you are worthy of more, how exactly do you expect to achieve that? How exactly do you expect to actually go out and actually fight for that? I mean, think about it. It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So it's not so much about, don't get me wrong, getting the discipline down is very important. Getting the consistency down is very important. Doing the steps are very important. But you can't get to that, and you can't put any real energy behind that if you don't truly believe that this better life, this better existence, that you can do better, that this is not what your life is supposed to be all about. A lot of times people think they want stuff. They say, oh yeah, I would love to have something. There's a difference between wanting something and expecting and believing that you can get it. Like, I want to win the lottery, but I don't really believe I'm going to do that. You know, I don't really believe it. And so I don't put energy into it. And because I don't put energy into it, half of the time when the lottery is at its biggest point, I don't even play. But don't get me wrong, I would love to win though. You know. But it's about your true belief in yourself. The value you put on yourself. Okay? Were you really born to live this life? Pay bills, go to work, come back, repeat the cycle, drink on the weekends, do it again? Is that what you were really supposed to do with your life? Is that what you really believe? Because sadly, that's what a lot of people do believe. If you actually look at people, they tell you one thing, but all their actions dictate something else. Their actions believe, their actions dictate that this is what I was meant to do. If I try to find a good job, go to work, pay the bills, come home, drink, do it again, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of money after 50 years of doing that, to sit back and relax for 3 or 4 years before I die. That is the general belief. And anybody who tries to buck that system, anybody who tries to create something bigger and grander, most people would ridicule you. You know, they'll put you down, they'll laugh at you. Who do you think you are? You know? Why don't you just get a regular job? So don't get me wrong, it's very difficult in our societies to achieve, because there are a lot of mechanisms in there. It's counterculture to try to do something great. But once again, that greatness has to come from within you. You have to believe. You have to believe in your abilities. You have to believe in your value. You have to value yourself more than the average person does. Because unfortunately, the average person has been taught to put little value in who they are. The average person has been taught to let society dictate your value. That's why they're so beholden to what society has to think or say about them. And is that dependence on acceptance from society that keeps them in place, because they're constantly trying to please the masses, trying to stay in line, not go too far outside, because they don't want to look crazy. They don't want to look as if they're doing something that is strange. They don't want to face the ridicule. You know? So once again, who do you think you are? Do you think you're a regular person? You know, we talked about that before. When I say try not to be so regular. Exactly. Millie, you told me about that, the tall poppy syndrome. You know, it's what they call it in Australia, you know. Because if you stick out over the rest of the herd, they will try to cut you down. Okay? In the beginning, everybody tries to cut people down, you know, especially the people that are closest to you, because they're the ones who are most offended by your want to do better, you know. Because they're thinking, who do you think you are? You come from the same place I come from. You're not this, you're not that, because I'm not. I don't believe it about myself. So how dare you believe it about you? And these are the things that get ingrained into children from the time they're small. And that's why it's so pervasive in our society. That's why, like I said, trying to achieve more, trying to do more is counterproductive. It's counterculture, you know. When we see that kid outside on the basketball court at midnight shooting around, that crazy kid out there again. But that's the same kid 15 years later when he makes it to the NBA. Everybody wants to say, oh, he comes from my neighborhood. But they never offered that kid anything to eat or drink when he was out there. They never supported his rise. So that's another thing about that. Don't look for support. That value that you put in yourself, that value, that work, that thing that's going to take you from here to here, it's going to be a lonely ride. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people can't take. They can't take that lonely ride. That last mile is the loneliest one. That extra mile is quiet. And it takes a lot of guts to do it. It takes a lot of guts to value yourself in our society. But that is what is necessary. Once again, in order for you to win, you have to believe first that you are a winner. In order for you to get better, you have to believe that better exists out there for you. Most people stay in situations because they don't really believe they can do better. Think about it. Most people stay in bad situations because they've been told there's nothing out there for you. This is the best you can do. If you look at some of the situations that people live in, put up with, you know, from relationships to jobs to just life in general. And some of us, you know, who are not in the same situation, you look at it and you think to yourself, like, why would you live like that? The only reason why you think that is because you believe and you know that better is out there for you. But that person from where they're sitting, they believe that this is life. This is life. This is the best I can do. So they try to create their own little paradises in their little hells. The only way someone puts the energy to get out of that, it has to start with them believing that there's something out there for them. Okay? They have to believe that there's something out there for them. If they don't believe that there's something out there for them, they'll still do what they've been doing the entire time. So yes, we talk about discipline. Yes, we talk about, you know, putting in work. But the starting point of all that is believing. And you believe when you value yourself. Once again, the man that does not value himself cannot value anything. The man that does not believe in himself can't believe in anything. Most especially himself. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get over the hump, if you will. All right? You are your biggest hump in your life. If you can get over yourself, if you can get over your self-limiting training, beliefs, and ideas, any and everything is possible.